One of the main pain points that is affecting Botswana today is that we're in a liquidity crunch, in the sense that Madi and me and Mr. Mrobe were having conversations, and the interest rates are getting too crazy. And in fact, it's because of these high interest rates that some of the deals that we had in the pipeline seem like they're going to collapse a bit. So we need to really think about how we're going to navigate these interesting times. And last week I had the privilege of going to a private equity firm. This private equity stuff, Baraitso, is not pie in the sky ideas. There's a gentleman next door, his name is Mr. Pule, local Motswana, who's actively doing this. And I went for his event. This is the sort of guy that takes 500 million pula from pension fund guys, and then he systematically allocates that 500 million pula to different companies, to the ones that need it. He recently closed a 76% acquisition of Medlane. I don't know how many of you guys know Medlane, but he took over it using private equity. He's also invested in Minet and Bayport. So people are actually doing this stuff, and this is not stuff it's not just theory. People are executing. I mean, last I checked, I think Alio Capital got 1 billion pula from these pension funds. These pension funds are holding billions, by the way. So we're broke, but it's not like we're broke. But we need to understand what's happening. We need to understand how to navigate these interesting socio-economic times. And it's very important that you call the experts to also teach you and to see how you can think about this economic recession, because recessioning, and bring some banking principles on how we can navigate through these interesting times. So please help me in introducing a top banker, a top thinker, a thought leader. He writes a lot of articles on this, the economy. I think you said you wrote like 500 articles. When you told me that day, I knew that's the man who embodies discipline and execution and productivity. 500 articles, even with ChatGPT, guys, it's not easy to do. And he's a private banker. He's the sort of guy you go to when you have, I think, a minimum of 10 million or 20 million or 100 million maybe. But when you have 100 million pula in your bank account, you have to go see guys like him. You can't even touch the money and think of allocating it before you speak to this gentleman. And he's a top banker. He's a thought leader, like I said. And his name is Mr. Emmanuel Allotei. And help me introduce him.
Thank you so much. All right. Thank you so much. So I'll just start off by saying I'm not really big on these introductions, right? Because you get to a point where the results speak for themselves. After everything he's said, if I don't add value to you, you won't remember what he said about me. If I do add value, you'll be like, oh yeah, that guy, tell me more, right? So I'm here to add value. I hope I can add value. I'll try my very best. One way you can help me is if you can think of one question you always wanted to find out from the bank about real estate, right? So even as I'm talking, I want you to think of that now. Maybe you'll get the opportunity to ask, but it's good to have that in the back of your mind. If you join the session, you will definitely get the opportunity to ask. I'll tell you that now for free. I think I want to start off by thanking you, Remohobe, for the platform. Thank you to the guests as well. All right. I don't take it lightly. I always smile when I come here. It's always a privilege to give back. And Remohobe has given us a platform to share what we know. It's not everybody who will tell you their secrets. When they say secret to success, if you are really successful, you want to keep it to yourself. Why would you share, right? But he's been open and he's allowed this opportunity, so please embrace it, right? I just want to pick off what you left off about Motselos, right? Now, I think in Africa, particularly in Botswana, we underestimate the power of Motselo. Right now, interest rates, okay, if the bank wants to lend you money, we are pushing like we are micro lenders. Micro lenders used to do 10, 20%, 15%. Now they've automatically moved up to 30%. If they're 30%, oh, you don't take loans. Oh, lucky you, right? See your reaction. Yeah, so it's 30% if you want, one of these short-term cash loans, 30%. Guess how much the bank, we are pushing. So some of the schemes we have, if you know these union schemes, one of them, we're pushing it up to 22%. Right? This is for a personal loan, 20%. That's where the rates are going. Now imagine your local Mutelo. Right? How much do you charge yourself? Some people even say, no, free. No, come on. You have access to funds. And we take it lightly that actually the money, and Motsello is your money, right? Mind you, if you look at how it works. Instead of your savings, you would have saved the whole year, you are able to release it, right, at a point where you need it. So the timing is quite important. So for example, we're saving 1,000 a month, and then you need to pay school fees in month 3. Instead of you waiting to save, on the 3rd month, you can get that money, pay your school fees, and still raise that money the rest of the year, free of charge. Isn't that to your benefit? There's a lot more people who have done more with the type of Motsellos. They've come together. So when you speak in private equity, it's the next level when it comes to investing without looking at the bank. We know about exponential building. A group of investors, I think they were 50, they came together. I think they're putting 100,000 together. They've put up that building. If you didn't know, you'll find out more. So it's possible, especially in real estate, you can pool your funds if you're really like-minded, if everybody has the same plan, right? To your question, to your comment, why don't we come together? People come together, next minute they pull out. One thing a lot of people lack, you spoke about Sele, we talk about envy, is also lack of commitment. Now, for those of you in real estate, you'll understand that it's a long-term game. How long is a mortgage? 25 years, 30 years, that's commitment. So what you're doing is really going against the norm. Not many people want to commit. So as you're going into it, find like-minded people who are committed to this cause. It's not an in and out, right? Imagine you set up a building, you set up a property, you'll be repaying the bank for the next 15 years, minimum. Wow. How old would you be in 15 years? Right? You started it now. How old? 15 years later, will you still be there with the same passion, with the same energy? So understand it's a long-term thing, right? So just know what you're getting yourself into, and your commitment will pay off. Definitely. I'll give you that assurance. With things like property, it's tangible. You see your results, and nobody can take it away from you. When they say, what have you done with your money? You show them the building. It's not like, well, with personal loans, hey, what did you do with the money? You can't show, I bought a new shoe, I went on holiday, there's nothing. That's the nice part about property, it's there. Speaking to one of the benefits of property, before I get into banking, I'm just giving some tips, right? Now, when there was an economic collapse, we know the story of Zimbabwe. When the currency went hyperinflation, it became useless. Guess where people put their money in? Property, right? The building doesn't change. It is still there. The price can go up and down, but that property was still there. So when we're going into a high interest rate environment, one of the hedges you can do for yourself is put your money in property. Free advice, okay? Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. So now let's get into it. I'm a banker, yes. Banker of the year, yes. I'm currently with one of the top banks, world's most respected African bank. If you've never heard of it, it's called Access Bank. Okay. If you've never heard of it, that's Dangote's bank as well. If you've never heard of it, hey, there's so much I can say. Our purpose is to make a positive impact in Africa. That's why we're there as the bank. We're in over 26 markets. And it's an African bank looking to make a difference for Africans. Right? So we're in Hong Kong, we're in the US, we're in the UK, we're in Dubai, we're in India. Just all the financial hubs. So where there's a deal happening and you need a representation of an African, Access Bank is there, representing Africa. Right, and we're here in Botswana. We've invested over 200 million when we took over from Bank ABC, and we're continuing to grow. We actually want to be the #1 bank. So if Pula, 200 million Pula. Yeah, hey, if it was dollars, hey, we'll be on somewhere else. Huh? Right. So yes, that's just a bit about my background. I want to talk to you about banking, liquidity crunch, the market. I mean, you've heard they said the government is broke, right? I'll try not to be technical because at the end of the day, after all the technical things I say, you know what you ask? What does it mean for me? Yes or no? You want to know how does it apply? We've heard NDP 12. You've heard all the nice things. All you want to know is what happens to me, right? So we'll try and get to what does it mean for you in real estate. What does it mean for your future? What does it mean for your business prospects, right? The government is broke. Diamond sales are down. So let's translate it like it was us, okay? Our source of income, we sell diamonds. So this is look at it as you are the government, it's you, right? Your job is to sell diamonds. That's where you make money from. In your house, the only way you get money is when you sell diamonds. You're unable to sell diamonds, that means you don't have any money. There's no money coming in. Simple. That is how you get paid. You get paid from diamonds. The diamonds are not coming in, meaning that you don't have money. Simple. The money you used to pay rent, the money you used to buy groceries, the money you used for all these other expenses, it's not there. So what do you have to do? You have to look for other sources of income. You have to borrow. You have to take out a credit card. You need increase your limit. You need a personal loan. You need to refinance your mortgage. And the government is doing all sorts of things, right, to raise money. When we talk about the government is broke, it's things like even to pay civil servants salaries. You've heard about that, right? So public servants, just to meet the basic pay their salaries. Or for example, that would be like, can you pay electricity in your house? Can you pay for water? That's the basics, recurring expenditure. Do you have enough money for that? We don't, because diamond sales are down. But it's not all gloom and doom, right? The government is working on it. They have a plan. They have something called the Sovereign Wealth Fund. They're looking how to invest, how to diversify, how to attract investors. One thing I appreciated from what the president said, he said, so let me quote his word. He said, when an investor wants to invest billions in the country, they want to meet the president. Yes or no? Yes, which is good. So he's made himself available to investors who actually want to put in money in the country, which is different from, former, presidents and their political stance, because they're like, who's this businessman? We need business people. All right. If you know, Dangote was in Zimbabwe. He signed a memorandum of agreement for how many billions? $1 billion he's going to invest in Zimbabwe. Right? That should have made us jealous. That's the good type of jealous, to say, why doesn't he bring that 1 billion here? Right? But we do know that he's investing. He's starting a cement plant in Botswana, if you didn't know. So there is some money coming our way. But it's not up to 1 billion. We would like that kind of money. The government needs that money. How does this affect you when the government is saying they don't have money? Right? So if the government had plans, we want to build schools, the manifesto, we want to build hospitals, we want to build more houses, etc., etc. They don't have the money to do that. One of the things the new government did, they scrapped the development manager model that was for projects. If you don't, okay, I don't know how many of you follow that. But why was that important? The development management project, it had to do with all infrastructure developments. So all the schools, all the hospitals, all the roads. These are opportunities that would come to us. Okay? This is your business. That was your business. They were going to subcontract to you to do. That has been halted. So we are impacted, whether you like it or not, whether you know it or not, right? But it's not all doom and gloom. We'll be talking about how to survive and thrive. So I'll be sharing how to survive, that's one level, and how to thrive. I think one of the most exciting things we heard from the government concerning their future plans is what they spoke about, affordable housing. How many were excited? How many could see themselves there? Or you were getting surrounded by the controversy, right? In every news, in every storm, there's a silver lining. So when they were talking about affordable housing, a lot of people were getting caught up with, oh, I want to be the project, what, oh, who is the one rolling out, they've gotten a Namibian company to build houses, what about me, what about me, what about me? What you should actually have been thinking is, this is a change in customer behavior, right? At the end of the day, your business is for customers, yes or no? Who are you building houses for? It's for your customers. What are your customer preferences? Actually, there has been a shift in customer preference towards affordable housing, meaning that before someone says, I want to go and build or I want to live in a 5-bedroom, double-story house, they actually think twice and say, actually, I prefer a 2-bedroom flat. Yes or no? I want a 2-bedroom apartment. Customer behavior has changed in terms of even what they consider their ideal home, what they consider their future plans, what they aspire to. Nobody's saying, I want a 10-bedroom house anymore, unless you know such people. But they will be few and rare, right? Affordable housing is an opportunity for all property developers. Okay? Yes, we knew about multi-res, but it has evolved past multi-res. Okay? If we were doing, yes, 1-bedroom, multi-res, 2.5 multi-res, it has evolved to affordable housing. Now, when you look at the model, I believe you should do some more research into that. Hey, you have to join this program. Okay? We can't give away everything, and we can't explain everything. Okay? Some of these principles, it's better explained, classroom setting. You ask, we'll explain till you fully understand. Right. Affordable housing is not just about the size or the square feet of the property. We're not saying put a small room and then we say it's affordable because of the rent price. That's not what it's about. Okay? All right. You'll learn when you join the course. Right? But that is really, if you want to thrive, I'm giving you away the biggest one. Affordable housing. I'm not sure if you've already started thinking about the unique or niche area and property you want to get into, but definitely affordable housing is the way. Affordable housing, what does it come with? We're talking about sustainable energy, right? How do you bring the cost of your development low such that your customers will be able to enjoy long term? So if you're not putting in green energy, that's one of the areas in the Botswana Economic Transformation Program is energy. We put in green energy. People cannot be paying too much on electricity. You need to put in a water system. There should be a fully integrated ecosystem in the house, or the property should be fully integrated in the system such that it's truly affordable. You don't have to say, hey, I don't have money for electricity. You can use your money on other things. All right, I like it when you're writing down. It means I'm sharing something, right? Coolies. All right, so just in terms of what is happening, I spoke about the government being broke. That is one side of the coin. What else is happening? We've seen what Bank of Botswana did, liberalizing the interest rates, meaning they allow banks to set whatever interest rate they want. That was good, and that was also risky. What happened when they increased so we have prime lending rate, right? That's what customers pay. Now there's the money policy, MOPR, which the Bank of Botswana sets. So the Bank of Botswana revised the MOPR. You have to Google what it stands for. And then immediately banks increased. So they transferred the increase to the customer. It's what we do. We are bankers, right? We're here for profit. So the customer took the pinch. So if it was a 1% loan, they increased by different amounts. I think the highest amount went to almost 1.9, almost 2%. If you were paying 1 pula repayment, by the time they added the interest rate, it's gone up to almost 2 pula. Right? Later on, I'll explain what does that mean for your customer. Mind you, you're in business for your customer. What else happened? Why do I say it was risky? When the Bank of Botswana realized this impact on customers, guess what? They increased it again this month or last month. And then they said, hey, banks, we prohibit you from passing it on to customers. It's like they knew what we were going to do. So this time, now we are stuck. We have an increase from the central bank, but we can't pass it on to the customer. So we're feeling the pinch. Our margins are now squeezed because now we have to pay. But guess what? As banks, we will never let it go. We have to find ways to make the customer pay. Okay? So that's what's happening in the economy. It's only a matter of time before you find some creative terms and conditions and notices that come your way that say something is going up. It's just how it works. That is the economy we are in. Interest rates are rising. That means there's an increase in the cost of borrowing. That's what he was talking about, the previous speaker. And that's why he said private equity is the way, because some deals now no longer make sense. On the flip side, those with money, those who are depositors, you have 1 million, you have savings, you go to the bank, you say, hey, I have 1 million. How much interest are you going to give me? Then the bank is saying, we'll give you 16%. Double digit for your savings, yes or no? You've seen all the win a car, deposit, win a this. There's so many deposit campaigns going around, yes? And, you know, those with money are benefiting from the rate. They're getting double digits. That's good for them, right? But for those who want to borrow, now the cost of borrowing has increased. So a normal loan, I started off by talking about some of these scheme loans, they've gone up to 22%. Why has it gone up? Because the bank is borrowing money from customers at rates of 16%. They have to translate that cost to the customer so they can continue to make a margin. It's painful. If you have money, you're benefiting, you get 16%. But when you want to borrow, on this side, it's 22%. Yes, that's what's going on. But it's not all doom and gloom. It's just for you to understand as you plan your move what you should focus on. Now, Botswana is so unique in the sense that when it comes to mortgages or property financing, the banks only recognize the city. And by the city, they only recognize mostly Gaborone. If you want to get property financing for Francistown, they start telling you about loan to value, let alone the village you come from. I don't know where you come from. But the more rural the area, the less the funding you get. Right? But where does the opportunity lie? Now, when you talk about, I think I was listening to someone talk about Maun. There's opportunity in property in Maun, yes. But the banks don't recognize it like that. Yes or no? So even as you're planning, you're looking where next, where can you go, where can you build your property empire, understand that the banks don't always see things the same way. But it's not all doom and gloom, right? It calls for innovation. You must really be innovative. I think one of the challenges we also have, aside from tsele, envy, and all that, is what I call herd mentality. Or you say follow the crowd. It's not a bad thing. It's good if it's based on consumer behavior. So if you're following by distributing what the consumer wants, it's good for you. But it's bad if you're copying people blindly. Right? So in terms of business, if everybody's buying a Stanley Cup, it doesn't stop you from selling it. But if you are one of those who are buying it, it's a problem because that's herd behavior. right? So you don't want to be on the side where you're copying as a cost to you. You want to be on the side where you're supplying to those who are copying each other. I hope that's not too deep, right? But we have a lot of herd behavior. But that should open your eyes to when you're in property, when you're in real estate, okay? Yes, what do they call it? These architectural designs. It's easy to take one and everybody uses the same one, right? If you don't differentiate yourself, you won't be able to stand out. We know about castles. I would have never heard the notion of we're building castles. I think it's a particular design of a house that everybody took that architectural design and everybody used it across. Yes or no? So when you think about what you're going to do with your property, I want to challenge you to really think hard. Are you going to just take somebody's, hey, who has an architect, please give me the drawing they've done, and then you just go copy-paste? If you do herd behavior, you will lose out. Because the builders who built it for your neighbor, where they can even cut corners, they will cut corners for you. Right? Now they know the tricks on how to make it look the same, and then you wouldn't know what's happening till it rains, etc., etc. If you follow people, that is where you get the pain of losing out. I hope that helps. I'm making you think, which is not a bad thing. This is the opportunity to innovate. I really get encouraged when I see entrepreneurs, people looking to do business, because that's the way, that's the real solution. Employment is good for security, but it won't make you a millionaire. It won't make you a billionaire. It won't make you leave an impact. One of the things I really appreciate from Remo Hobe is the fact that at least he has a building with his name on it. Hello? Yeah. If I could, I wish in my village I could own a spaza shop and put my name on it. Or own those general store plus a bottle store plus a butchery and put my name. That whole complex will be my name in my village, and it's what I have set up, and they will know me. And they will know our family, and then they'll say, yeah, this family from this ward, these are their shops, their name is there. When you go into that town, they say, yeah, oh, you're looking for that family, yeah, they own these shops. Wouldn't you like that? We don't want to lose our legacy. The nice thing with property, it lasts. Even as I'm saying this, I'm remembering, the owner of Poppin. Poppin has been sold, right? The owner of the Poppin, God rest his soul, when he passed, if his name was on that building, that's a legacy, right? Sorry, I'm digressing. I used to go to Poppin when fat cakes were like 25 tebe, right? I didn't even know who he was. Yeah, you still remember. And years later, now he's passed, I go past that building, and it's the end of what could have been a legacy. And we all have the opportunity. With property, please think of it like that. You have the opportunity to create a legacy. That building will forever be there as a memorial. They say, you did that. When you're building your portfolio, look at it like that. You're really making an impact, a tangible impact. There's a difference between surviving and thriving, depending on the cycle or where you are in your business model, whether you've just started off or whether you already have a couple of properties. But depending on where you are, there's always opportunity. How do you survive? If you already have tenants, one of the first tips I'll give you, please freeze your annual escalation, if possible. You need to secure occupancy. Okay? If you already have properties, please just tell all your tenants, guys, I'm freezing the escalation. I appreciate you. Continue, sign another 2-3 year lease. You want to secure people. It's all about customers. Right? There's no point of having an empty building. For those of you who think buildings will always be in demand, we have seen disasters. There's a place, Caleview, that building is empty. We've seen disasters. There are disasters and disastrous buildings that we can refer to of what not to do in property in Botswana. Whether it's even a skyscraper, we have one of those, I don't want to call them out because it's a government building, right? It's somewhere here. It's also big, there's nobody there, right? So you want to ensure you have customers. Why is that important? For the bank, first of all, when we look at your portfolio, when we look at your rental income, we automatically discount it. So even if you tell me that, I have 10 properties, I'm getting 100,000 from that property, we discount it and say, yeah, okay, thank you. We recognize the income. We'll only recognize 50%. If you're lucky, it can be higher. So the banks don't even recognize the full income you're getting from those properties. So you need to be proactive in how you manage your cash flow. Okay? It's important. You don't want to be disappointed. And then you say, no, but I have the customer. Yeah, you can argue all you want, but if you are begging, or not begging, sorry, if you're coming to the bank for assistance, what the bank says goes. And the banks discount rental income. So it is for you to look at what else can you do with the balance of that income. So if you have 100,000, the bank says we only recognize 50,000 of that amount towards whatever facility we want to give you. What are you going to do with the other 50,000? Because you still want to use it to grow your portfolio. Yes? You're writing. Okay, cool. There's so much, but some of these things you get more in class. I want to highlight one. This is a trademark of Remo Hobe. It's called the brr. Come on, I said, you see, I pay attention. You have to join the class to find out. I'm not going to give it away. But it is also one of the tools you can use when you want to build capital, when you want to grow your business, expand quickly. I want to also highlight, aside from rising interest rates, there's a couple of things you must watch out for. Terms and conditions to watch out for when you get funding from the bank. I'll still come back to, okay, help me if I'm going left and right, but I just want to bring this up because I spoke of interest rates. Now, the banks have different small fine print. They always write things there. One of the things you should watch out for is the notice period for any increase, right? So you tell your tenants, I'll give you 1 month increase, 1 month notice before I kick you out, or 1 month notice before I make any changes. Also, the bank has that. You need to watch out for that and say, what does it mean? How long does the bank have to give you notice before they say, we're increasing the fees, we're increasing the charges? You don't want to get caught out. Right? These terms and conditions really apply. Another thing they also do, if you should default, you should also look out for the consequences of default. If you should miss a payment, if you should miss 2 payments, always look out for what it means for you, what it means for your business. Because some of you'll be doing it as a business or getting funding as a business, there are things called covenants and conditions. So they are funding you with if you do this, continue doing this, this is why we're giving you the money. If you breach, there will be certain consequences. And one of the consequences you should always look out for and avoid is what they call early recall, meaning that they can force you to repay the full amount of what you owe. Okay? You don't want to get caught in that trap. That is literally equivalent to a foreclosure, or they take back their property. You don't want that. So just look out for those terms and conditions. I think another, man, how can you walk in front of me? There's a camera, man, please. Okay. One of the things you should also watch out for is early repayment. Why is early repayment important? Even as your property portfolio goes, right? You get enough money, you release equity, you have money, you can clear off that house. When you come to the bank will look to penalize you. It's painful. It's very painful. I've seen it firsthand. We had somebody, he took out a loan, 10 million or 20 million or something. We funded the person. Then they got money, and then they wanted to repay that 10 million. Right? They were waiting for money as a supplier. They got the money. They wanted to repay. Guess how much we wanted to charge them for early repayment? Guess. 8 million. Don't play with terms and conditions, eh? Hello? Guess what? Mortgages are long-term, right? So you're supposed to be paying me back for the next 20 years, the next how many years? I'm supposed to be making money all these years. So whether you say you want to repay me now, when I'm looking forward to 10 years of charging you, I'm going to charge you 10 years in that short amount. So please look at those repayment terms. It's important. You don't want to lose out. Then you'll be like, this bank, right? So it's better to know so you don't get caught up. That is just by the way, right? Some people are shocked. But that's what happens. But it's not all doom and gloom. Use your money wisely. If you have the capital, if you have the money, it's not always to do a capital reduction. Sometimes that's not always the best option when you have money, right? You don't have to give it back to the bank. Sometimes it helps to continue just repaying that loan, leaving it to repay itself whilst you put your money into something else. In Botswana, we don't have a positive credit bureau. If we did, all those who were repaying well and had a good history, they'll be able to leverage their credit score. We don't have that. So the only thing we recognize is when you don't pay, unfortunately. If you're paying well, we can't even use it to allow you to borrow more. So depending on where you are in your business, I started with that. So if you are just starting your business, and then you'll say, okay, I want to start my property portfolio. I have nothing. Do you really have nothing? Yes or no? Do you really have nothing? You have something. So you can't, do you really have nothing? I'm like, okay, so which one of you would say, I have nothing? I want to start a property business. I have nothing. I want to go into real estate. I have nothing. Who's here? Who can say that? Okay. I'll give you an easy one. You should start off by selling property. You say you have nothing, right? You don't have a deposit. You don't have anything in your name. Start off by selling property. You're going to get what? Commission. Yes? You're going to get contacts. You're going to get exposure. You're going to meet people. You have nothing, right? And then what do they do when you meet them? They'll say, look, I'm selling my land. Find me a buyer. I'm selling. And if you're really good in selling, you'll be able to convince them, you know what? Actually, sell this property to me. Sell this land to me. I'll turn it around. I will do this for you. I will give you this amount. If you're really good. It doesn't have to be your property to sell, right? It doesn't have to be your property to be in business. That's why we have property agents and brokers, right? There's so many options. But depending on where you are, if you need the bank to assist you, I really like those who start off in formal employment and then go into self-employment, because you can really leverage the money coming from the banks and how banks really respect individuals. You're welcome. So banks can give a normal employee up to 3 million. You can get an unsecured personal loan up to 900,000. 900,000 unsecured, just because you're an employee. That same amount, if you try and apply for that as a business, you look at the terms and conditions, the requirements, audited financial statement. It will be so much, right? Not to put you off, right? But there's so much benefits with leveraging individual borrowing. So if you can, use personal borrowing and then use that to start your business. You'll have one foot up. So there's nothing wrong with being in employment. It's actually an advantage if you're part of some of these unions and schemes where they offer some nice rates. You can put together the money and use it for your business. Even for those, so coming to the Motselo idea, even for those, people, they're in government, okay? They have access to 900,000, but they work full-time. You can come into an agreement. Please bring your 900,000 and let's put it into property. Unless they don't trust you, unless they are not like-minded or committed. But if they are, it's one of the fastest ways to pool money and start and get something going. Right? I hope somebody's been helped. Okay. So we spoke occupancy. Another one is, please, if you can cut down on some of these costs. If you have security guards, etc., there's cost optimization. Always look out for that. This is how to survive. All right? And why are you trying to survive? Is because we know individuals don't have the money they used to have. Right? Individuals can't afford to borrow what they used to be able to borrow. The cost of living is up. Right? So everybody is really looking. When they say, what's the price of rent? People are now comparing. Who would have thought that nowadays on TikTok, you can even see comparisons of, what's this? What do they call the food? Not a food basket. What do they call that? Combo. They now even compare combo. 300 pula, they'll tell you this shop is 320, this shop is 280. That is how far we have gone in terms of people paying attention to their finances. How much more when it comes to things like rent. All right? So everybody's on the lookout for the best deal. So if you're offering gated community and then you say, I have security, if you can reduce one of the security guards, reduce. If he can only come at night, let him only come at night. These are avenues to optimize your cost. This is for survival, right, in what is going on. And it's not forever, it's not for a long time, but it's just to ride out the storm. All right? People are also watching to say, okay, what's going to happen next? They don't want to become bankrupt. Yes, things are tight, but they know that something is coming. We also have hope that what the government is doing will change. We also have hope that there will be civil servant salary increases. They are your customers, yes? Yeah. So when it happens for them, your business is going to boom. Unfortunately, Botswana, we're currently in a recession. So when we're in a recession, there's a slowdown of projects, there's a slowdown of developments, there's a slowdown in the opportunities to expand. But that is for those mainstream. For you who's an innovator, that is your opportunity. We spoke about affordable housing. You have to keep your eye out on the pulse. One of the ways to thrive, let me give you one, okay, is by acquisition of auction properties. Especially we're at end of year, a lot of banks want to dispose. There's a lot of discount properties out there. The banks don't care. We're thinking of our year end. We want our numbers to look good. This is a chance for you in property to get portfolios together. Now, some of the nice areas, of course, is those that are outside the city. So you say Palape, 300,000, these are ridiculous amounts, but you can get your foot in the door. And when it's auction, it's not that it's not viable, it's just that the person was not paying. Right? So if one person is not paying, doesn't mean that that house or that property or that location is not viable. So you can get deals, you can actually survive, you can actually become a property mogul during this liquidity crunch. Okay? Another way to survive I don't know how many people are into land, but if you have access to land in high growth areas or prime areas, you can see where Gaborone is expanding. You ask yourself where these Bunno housing, when people say, oh, the government wants to bring 3,000 houses, the first question you ask yourself, where? And we're all looking around to say, where is the actual land available for these houses? I didn't know that there's land after Gaborone Dam opposite Zola. Did you know? I didn't know. I haven't seen what happens that side. But you can see they're clearing that area. You don't know where it is. You pass Yacht Club, you're using the back route to Game City. They have cleared that area and it's going deep down. There's land. Some of these areas we never thought of. Clearly there's opportunity there. You know people, you have access to people who have all these lands, all these properties, high growth areas. This is your time. What I like about property is you don't have to be the owner. You can be the representative, you can be the broker, etc., etc., such that you can actually put all those who own those lands, all those properties together under your portfolio, and you are the one negotiating for them, right? That's the nice part, I'm telling you. Why is property so nice? It is the one guaranteed type of business that can replicate your monthly income. Okay? What do we get with rent? We get what? Monthly rental. What do you get with your salaries? Monthly salary. What do you pay? You pay monthly rent. It's a nice formula. If you get it right, especially for those who are looking for retirement, that is a guaranteed salary. The money is coming in. And we know in our spend cycles, people spend monthly. In other countries, when people pay rent, they pay for the whole year. So it's somewhat different. But here, because people pay monthly, everything is done monthly. You have that opportunity. Right? And why can't it be you helping those who are soon to retire? Okay, maybe I can propose a business model for you. Look, if you know enough people who are going to retire, they should come and put their property portfolios with you, and you can manage it for them, right? Or all those who are looking to use their retirement to build houses and acquire property, they should all come to you even before they retire, okay? If you know enough people, I'm just giving you a free. If you know enough people, that's an easy model. We know what people do when they retire. They get the lump sum and then they're saying, now let me buy a house. Why? Because they've been living in government accommodation for so long. How to thrive. Okay, I'll give you two more. I don't want to take too long. Invest, optimize, consolidate, and where possible, the nice thing with property, you can always sell. That's the nice thing about property. You can always sell. You sell for a profit, you move on. Get your money back, move on. If you can, please do. It's to your benefit. Where you're sitting on a property where the value has gone up, please consider refinancing. Okay? I think with some of the mortgages now you can go up to 40 years. Okay? If you can refinance for a longer tenure, release that money and use it for something else. Or put it back into your business and grow your portfolio. It's possible. What do banks care about? Now I'm coming to banks now. What do we care about? I think the biggest one is your ability to repay. If we lend you money, we always care about the ability to repay. How are you going to repay? We want to check who your tenants are, how much are they bringing, how secure is your contract with them, etc., etc. Also, even as you say this is your business account, we also want to check your liquidity, meaning that we check the cash flow or the rentals that go through your account. So all these people who pay me through Orange Money, please encourage them to deposit into your account. It's important. We need that trail. As a bank, we need that trail. Because like I said, we already discount your rental income by 50%. So if it's not going through your bank account and then you want to convince me that this is your tenant, we won't believe it. let the money flow through your bank account such that it averages out what you want to qualify for. And that will help you. Even for your personal account, your personal business dealing, please consider doing that. Performance risk, for those who are into niche projects, all of a sudden you want to do a mixed use building, you want to do a this. The banks are not too complex. Let me just tell you, maybe let me put it like that. Don't expect the bank to understand what you mean by it to be a residential at the top, at the bottom will be a retail store, in the middle will be a hospital. The banks don't fully understand that, right? So when you come to the bank looking for funding for complex projects, they may not necessarily have the appetite. It is just because of the way we are underdeveloped in terms of our mortgage market. It's not about you, it's just you're ahead of us as the bank. So we may not fully appreciate what you're trying to do. And then it will be like, no, we can't do it, sorry. It's just because we don't fully understand, right? But we will get there at some point. But if the bank is not willing, please look for other options, okay? There's enough people with money looking to invest. There's enough, I'm telling you. If you have the right idea, people will invest in you. The last time I was here, I gave an example of someone who invested 20 million of his personal money into a business in this economy. 20 million, they started the business, it's up. So there are people with money. There's money there. Bring the right project, they'll put their money into it. Okay? So think really, be innovative and be convinced with your business model. I don't want to take too long. Okay, let me end with the last one. If you're also in property, one of the things that have happened in the economy is the currency devaluation. So what does that mean for you? Right? We can't take it lightly. They say, oh, the pula is down, the rand is 1:2. I saw Remohobe talk about the rand. Wait. You want to rant about the rand, about the currency. So, yes, it's down, but what does that mean for you? Once upon a time, a lot of people were importing from China, yes. When you want to furnish your building, where do you get your materials from? China. You talk about solar panels, where are they coming from? China. Right? One of the largest imports now is coming from China, and these are solar panels. Now with this currency movement, the cost of goods have gone up. Automatically, that means they will pass it on to the customer. But you are the one who's doing business. Mind you, you quoted the price of your house saying fully furnished house with everything and solar panels is 100,000. Now the solar panels have gone up. There goes your margins. So you need to know in terms of how you do your agreements and your selling price, you better put a clause. That's why we have lawyers, These clauses that allow you to say, this quote is valid at this time. If prices should increase, I can increase. Otherwise, you find yourself, committed to projects, and then the market moves. For example, you are building 2 houses for people. They've already paid the deposit. You've given them a fixed price, and then the costs go up. You don't want to lose out. All right? It's possible. So look out for those currency devaluations. Please know the bank you are using. I know some of these banks, they don't give you the benefit. So with this depreciation, the banks get the margin. So the profit goes to the bank. Yes, the currency is devalued. What you used to get for 1 pula now becomes more expensive to you. The bank is not helping you. So always check. I think you're allowed to shop around when it comes to FX deals. You can shop around. Other banks will allow you to trade with them. Okay? There are certain banks, I'm not jealous of them, but they offer the most competitive rates. Full stop. They are in the CBD, and it's not FNB. Okay? Okay? I'm not jealous of them. They offer the best rates. Don't settle for one quote. It's your money. You're doing business. You're importing. You have the money. You want the best. And just from that FX, that foreign currency, that currency movement, you can either benefit or lose. You can actually get 10,000 more, 100,000 more. just from getting a better rate. Right? So just be cautious about that when it comes to import, export. And I wish you all the best. Right. Do we have that question? Who wants that one question you always wanted to ask? I think I'm allowed to take one question, please, if possible. Okay, there's one hand. Who else? One burning question you've always wanted to ask. Okay, let's start with him. I'd given him advice already. Huh? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, my question is about what you said about mixed-use properties. Like, why is it that it is looked at as too ahead of the current banking establishment, and how does that happen?
Okay. I'll come back to your question. Let me take his. Anybody? Burning question that you've always wanted to know from a banker or the bank, or understand why. Please, I'm giving you one more person can ask. Go ahead.
All right, thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Emmanuel.
Yeah.
I just wanted to understand, what's the best way to approach the banker when you're trying to negotiate interest rates as an individual? That's the burning question I have for you.
Okay. One more. I'll take one more. Guys, your questions are not hard enough. I thought you don't have a real question you want to ask. Really? You're not struggling with money. You've not had any declines yet. No? Nothing that you say, I want to know. Really? One more. I'm giving one. Yeah, go ahead.
Right. Firstly, good afternoon. Thank you
Yes.
for the opportunity to ask a question.
Go ahead.
I wanted to ask, in Botswana, especially for real estate investment, do you guys have access to maybe any types of derivatives, should I say, such as swaps that could be applied to essentially benefit your properties better? For example, interest rate swaps to ensure that you're financing your properties at the most ideal rates, and other use cases. I think that should be complex enough.
Yeah. It's complex, but the answer is simple. So just coming back to starting with his point, our market is underdeveloped. Just looking at the number of people who have mortgages, okay? So just think about it. A mortgage is funding from the bank. If you don't have a mortgage, that means you found other ways to get property. Yes? Do we agree? So of all the houses, of all the buildings, if they are not mortgaged, if there's no mortgage, that means there's no bank involved, meaning that we didn't participate. That's just how it is. People found ways to actually put up those properties. In Botswana, unfortunately, our market is underdeveloped. Our mortgage market, underdeveloped. You ask yourself, to qualify for a mortgage, what should be your minimum salary? We know the average salary is 10K, right? So how much should you be making to actually get a mortgage from the bank? Let alone a mortgage from the bank in the city of Gabs, where the average property price of a house is 1.2, and this is maybe Tsulufelo East, or I don't know. Okay, right? So we are underdeveloped. Hence, just the little things, mixed use. I want to, because property is not only houses, right? You can say I want to put up retail stores. You can say I want to put up hospitals. I want to put up special chain restaurant type setup. There's so many things we can do with property. It's not only houses. We don't have that. All the spas and shop rides, you find they are developing from their pocket, the retail stores. Huh? It's not even the banks. Sometimes the banks participate, but people are self-funding properties. So that's the answer. We are not complex. So we don't have that appreciation. We're still trying to get people to please take a mortgage. And then when you think about it, you say, no, you know what? I already have land. Let me get a personal loan, and then I'll build by myself. Isn't that what happens? Without you saying, I want to go and commit to the bank for the next 25 years. People make a plan, right? That's what happens. So banks were struggling or trying to get our foot in the door with mortgages. Oh, now you have a question. So then that's the answer to your question. And then coming to you, that's why we don't even have interest rate swaps. As much as we try, well, fortunately, I think our currency is quite stable because our major trading partner is South Africa. If we were dealing with dollars, you would see deals happening, right? Because that's the currency of the world. But because our trading partner is South Africa is stable, we don't need, and we're stronger than SA, we don't really do interest rate swaps. But you can hedge, you can do FX transactions where you fix the rate if you know you're making a big purchase. And then your third question. Do you have a question?
Okay,
I hope it's quite serious.
Before we go to him, there was a question online that I
Okay.
feel like I should ask on behalf of the person. So he asks, or he or she asks, which option is better if one were to borrow against own pension to develop a rental property versus getting a loan from the bank or releasing equity? So
Yeah, those are the different options. But when you're looking for
in terms of risk management.
No, well, you ask yourself, what is the risk? The first risk to the bank is repayment risk. So are you borrowing against your pension? It's already your money, right? So what's the risk? The risk of you not paying yourself, you lose your pension. The risk of you not paying the bank is going to take that house, right? So most of the time, it's repayment risk, but then you say, what's the interest rate? Because it's not free. You're borrowing at a rate. So if you're borrowing from the bank, we know the rates the bank is going to charge you. You're borrowing from your pension, it's somewhat subsidized because it's your money. It's somewhat better, but mind you might not live forever, right? So you must understand the terms and conditions such that even after you finish completing the building, it's not like you have 20 more years to repay that mortgage. Coming to yours, how do you approach a bank as an individual? If you are not rich, if you don't have collateral, if you don't have any form of leverage, unfortunately, you are just one of the numbers, right? The bank doesn't negotiate. That's why we publish our tariffs, right? We put the tariffs in the newspaper. We say this is our price for the whole year, for everybody. Only special people get negotiated rates depending on how much value they bring, right? So if you have 10 properties with us, they are worth 300 million, then you say, look, I want another property. I don't want to pay deposit. I will help you. If you are Mr. Emmanuel, you won't even have an RM, let alone to be able to negotiate. All right, let me take your question. It's unfortunate, but that's how it is.
Thank you for the moment. You mentioned something earlier on concerning under mortgage and property financing.
Right.
So my question was, you mentioned that sometimes the banks will not consider, maybe other places would preferably, you mentioned Gaborone maybe will be the priority. And then I was saying, places like you mentioned Maung, other places which are outside Gaborone. As a bank, which has been more like liberalized in terms of financing and other things, wouldn't you agree that it will limit maybe your profit margins if you are to expand yourself in those areas? Because it also is talk of land and other things. Earlier on, you mentioned something like a shift in terms of customer preference. Yes, so that can also involve other places. Thank you for that. Oh, last question. Would you say, this is just a question from nowhere, but would you say at the moment, the cost of property, is it high or low? Or would you say, as of the trend, what is the market trend in terms of property, buying or selling? Is it high or low? What is your advice on that? Thank you.
Yeah, so she'll answer that, right? Yes, very good. So she can offer an opinion on that. So what I would say is, yes, there is a shift. There is the growing demand. People want mortgages up north, but it's too slow. The progress is too slow, right? Because if you say, so for a bank, for example, if you're working in Maun, you want a house, the first thing they ask you is, who do you work for? Who's your employer? Who is your employer based in Maun? Then they're looking, is that Is that company secure? What are the chances of retrenchment? They look at all sorts of factors, and then they offer you a LTV, loan to value. Then they'll say, okay, we can give you a mortgage, but because we don't really understand that place, we'll give you a 60% loan to value. So we'll fund you 60%, and then you have to put in the rest of the money. It's too slow. The progress is too slow. There's things like insurance that can assist in bridging the gap, the LTV gap. That's why we have things like 105% mortgage financing. But for the outskirts, the progress is too slow. We need the help of government, right? You know, the land board, those guys, I don't know what they're doing, right? We need an integrated, digitalized land system. That is how we can fast track some of these transactions. That is how we can appreciate what is happening. Because right now you say, who owns that land there in the bush? We don't know. Well, if the bank wants to repossess, mind you, we're not in the business of repossessing houses and land. So if somebody doesn't pay, our head office is in Gabs. Now I have to find someone to go there and, get the title deed, look around the property, kick the person out of the house, and keep it secure. That's so much work. So these are some of the factors actually that affect certain locations. But if we did have an improved land system, I'm sure we can do business easily. You know how it works. Even the number of sheriffs, how many sheriffs do we have in some of these areas where you come from, right? But we have because the sheriff, when he's conducting an auction, they have to go there. We're auctioning in front of this property. Now, if you want to auction in some of these remote areas, how many people have to travel? So much work. Before you answer, my view on property prices and the value, is it up or down? I would say not all properties have lost their value. Some have, not all. Some, for example, areas like Tlokweng, we thought Tlokweng was going to be a boom area. Tlokweng never took off. Okay, I don't know about you, but in my view, Tlokweng has never taken off. Meaning that we thought the value of houses in Tlokweng would exponentially grow with the demand such that you'll be making a profit, but that has not been the case. Why? Because the land continues to expand, so people can still keep building houses. For you to make a profit, there has to be that demand and supply shift. So there has to be that people want it, so they'll pay scarcity, so they'll pay more for it. So Tlokweng hasn't taken off, for example, in my opinion. Certain areas have actually begun to drop in value. In my view, I think these Tsholofelo houses are beginning to lose value. I think when they started off, they were up. Now we're beginning to see faults in the houses, okay? Insurance is not willing to help. Some houses are starting to crack, etc. It's quite painful. And that's the risk. That's the risk with property, right? In the beginning, it's all nice. We say 100%. And then years down the line, then we start seeing the faults. Once the building is faulty, and, I don't think we are taking or paying too much attention to property maintenance as a business model on its own. I don't think there's enough people in that area that are investing in taking care of properties, renovating properties, fixing it up. There's not enough people. So we have a lot of dilapidated houses that could have been restored and kept their value. If the house is going down, you're not refreshing the paint, you're not repairing the cracks, the value goes down. If your neighbor's house goes down, your house is also going down. That's the thing with the neighborhood. That's my view. Yours?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Operomo Pato. And according to me, I think middle income residential houses are going up, and also depending on the locations that you are purchasing the houses at, areas such as Block 10, areas such as Tsholofelo, you'd find that the houses are being bought in that side as compared to buying houses maybe in G West, because that side, people don't want to buy houses that side because of location. Remember, in real estate, it's location, location, location. So the best location means that you'd be able to buy houses that side, and that means the prices are okay. I don't know if I've answered the question. Prices are going up in the residential side. In the commercial side, it depends. That is my view.
Yeah, I'm done. Thank you. Thank you. All the best. I'll encourage you. Please join and get more. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. All right. Thanks. I hope I added value.